When you make a documentary, it's all about being surprised. You're gathering all sorts of material, much more than you're going to need. You have some idea of the point you're trying to make, but other things happen which change your perspective. That is what happened to me when I got to Jihlava.
Michael had an epiphany. When he saw the main town square and saw that radiating down each street was a place that was pivotal in Mahler's upbringing, he realized for the first time that it has the same shape as a Mahler symphony.
It was just all there. Of course, this has to become the center of what we're saying about Mahler, his world, and the symphonic worlds he created. I've always known about this town, but it didn't occur to me until I actually came here and began walking around how much the situation is like the kinds of shapes we encounter in one of Mahler's symphonies. This enormous great square right in the middle of it, and then down every street, another little destination of his life with its own special flavor. The synagogue that way, his parents' house and tavern that way, the church where he was a chorister that way, the school he attended every day that way, and of course, in this space, all of the richness of all the military music, the drills, the parades, the different bands competing with one another.
When Joan and I start working on any one of these Keeping Score films, we don't know what we're going to discover. You can read the books, you can get notes from Michael, but then when you go out there, there's the sheer serendipity of the locations you find, the people you find, and to keep the film fresh, you have to keep that sense of adventure and surprise. What'll be round the next corner?
And I think that's one of the reasons why going on location is so important. You hear, you smell, you see things that you don't see by looking at some photo. Because how do you get the context without walking the streets where he lived?
One of the things we also have to do in these documentaries is to find ways of communicating what music sounded like 100 and some years ago. And in the case of Mahler, we had to do this with a lot of different things. We had to do it with folk songs, we had to do it with little tavern bands, and we had to do it with a military band.
I knew that there must have been a particular kind of sound that had bounced off of the walls of the houses surrounding the parade grounds. But how to give a sense of that? It's not possible to do that in Jihlava now because during the communist period, an enormous kind of shopping center was built in part of the square. In Mahler's day, there was no McDonald's here, actually. So we set out to research where might there be an Austro-Hungarian tradition marching band.
We found a barracks right outside.
That was incredible. I mean, it so happens in Klagenfurt that right until a month or two before we were shooting, the Austrian army was still using the barracks they'd always used in Klagenfurt, built in Maria Theresa's time, 200 and some years old.
We were very lucky to get it because it's about to be developed into condominiums. So this was kind of the last possible chance to get this band into a square like that and have them give us a sense of the different kinds of marches that were played.
This is as authentic as you'll get. Even with a huge Hollywood budget, you'll never get music that sounds more authentic, looks better, sounds better than this, exactly what Mahler would have heard at the time.
Michael was very excited about this. He spent some time talking to the bandmaster, making sure that we got the exact right music. Michael put the monitor on and basically directed this barracks of 80 people marching across the field, playing instruments. There were a couple of rain clouds in the morning and the day got more and more ominous. We're all kind of waiting for the first raindrop that's going to shut down the production.
Oh yeah, we had great scenes as far as that. We'd say, right, back to your beginning marks, please, run! So they'd all be taking their euphoniums and tubas and sort of running back there. We'd say, stand by, right, that's it, and all the rest. And then Michael would say, go, 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 and then run with the cameraman after them and so on. So these scenes are kind of quite crazy. But at the end of it all, you look at each other and you say, by Jove, I think we've got it.
Another very important location in Mahler's life was the villa he built with the first money that he really had. This villa gave him a sense of security and peace, which seems to have influenced in a number of ways the kind of music that he wrote there. This house has been much photographed from the exterior, but it has not been seen before in the interior.
The Meyernig house was a real gift because it's not a museum, because it's in private hands, and basically says no to most requests to film because it's their private place. It's been their family for ages. But in this particular case, they did say yes.
And when Michael first walked in, and to see him walk through and just commune with the spirit of Mahler that was so prominent in the house was pretty amazing.
To see so many of the details of the shape of the house, the decorations of the house that are still as they were in Mahler's time, to just get that sense of what it was like for him to sit on that porch, look out at that water, and what that must have done for his perspective on life.
Mahler spent 6 incredibly happy summers in this house. He was raising his young family, his 2 daughters, his beautiful Alma, the society of friends who came to visit, and the place revitalized him. It was always the same. He arrived here completely exhausted, wondering if he'd ever compose again, and then he was back into it.
Up the hill, even further away from anyone else, he built this composing hut. And that was the retreat. I mean, his days were very organized. He was incredibly prolific, and he would hike up the hill in the mornings and compose. It's a major way to understand who Mahler is and what his music is about, for Michael, for the audience, for us.
We are always seeking to find some location, some place, some corner which will trigger Michael to be emotional about the music he so loves. And that's the key to these films. It's when Michael, either on camera or later when he sees the shots we've taken, says, yes, 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 this is what Mahler felt, this is what he was trying to get at, this is what shaped him. And those moments are the magic of being on location. You know from the light in Michael's eye that this is freshly minted thought and that he's having a great time sharing it with you.